the unconventional path of the chosen. Some souls are thrust into the crucible before they ever utter a word. This isn't due to life's cruelty, but because their destiny was never an ordinary one. If your upbringing was within a toxic family, a home echoing with accusation, silence, manipulation, or disarray grasped this truth, you weren't cursed, you were sculpted. Seneca once observed, "Difficulties fortify the mind, just as exertion strengthens the body." What many label as suffering, we recognize as artistry. For those of us chosen for a grander purpose, the universe doesn't offer solace. It presents stark contrast. It shatters our delusions so that we may perceive truth with clarity. Our bloodline wasn't a choice, but our blueprint can be. And frequently, the journey to eminence begins with a harsh realization. Our initial instructors weren't mentors. They were cautionary tales. Consider Epictetus, born into slavery, surrounded by unwieldable power and inescapable pain. Yet, what did he become? A philosopher of unyielding resolve. An intellect forged in bondage, but liberated by reason. Why are we born into toxic families? Because only those who've sampled emotional poison can cultivate inner antidotes. Only those nurtured in shadows learn to trust the glow of their own light. And only those who were made to feel powerless on earth. The genuine essence of power. This isn't control over others, but mastery over oneself. In the face of betrayal, we learn loyalty. After being silenced, we discover the might of quietude, not the silence of surrender, but the stillness of sovereign serenity, a calm refusal to be fractured. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of the known world, penned to himself, the obstruction. To action advances action. What blocks the path becomes the path. The toxic roots from which you grew weren't your story's conclusion. They were the genesis of your rebellion. And if you've ever pondered, why me? The response is simple. The furnace doesn't disintegrate the weak. It purifies the strong. We, the ones who lacked sufficient hugs, adequate listening, enough belief. We were compelled to become our own guardians, our own wise ones, our own tranquility. So when you feel your family shattered you, understand this. They didn't shatter you. They unveiled you. Because it requires a toxic genesis to forge an unshakable foundation. It takes betrayal to instill unwavering boundaries. It demands emotional deprivation to foster inner abundance. Chosen ones aren't born fortunate, they're born essential. And necessity doesn't arrive with comfort. It arrives with chaos. Because destiny doesn't whisper through lullabies. It screams through agony. So if your lineage didn't bestow peace, let that be your endeavor to embody it. They sought to raise us in fear, but unknowingly, they forged our courage. When a child is forced to tread carefully, to question their self-worth, to diminish their voice for survival, they don't merely become wary. They become observant. They analyze patterns. They sharpen their awareness. They cultivate an inner stillness, so precise they can sense turmoil before it manifests. This hypersensitivity, what others term wounds, we call instruments of perception. Because when you've been molded in an unstable environment, you learn to find your footing on shifting ground. And that is unteachable. As Musonius Rufus taught, philosophy doesn't promise to secure external things for humanity. Otherwise, it would acknowledge something beyond its proper domain. For just as medicine pledges health, philosophy promises a healthy mind. Our toxic beginnings didn't grant us a wholesome childhood, but they gave us the impetus to cultivate a healthy mind. And that, ultimately, is the sharpest implement a human can wield. They made us feel like outsiders because we were never meant to conform to their illusion. Toxic families operate within a cycle of inherited dysfunction. Fear disguised as affection, guilt presented as obligation, and silence marketed as peace. But those of us who perceive, who feel profoundly, we break the enchantment. We aren't here to conform to the sickness that preceded us. We are here to confront it, to bear its weight with dignity, to transmute what they denied and feared within themselves. Epictetus stated, "First know who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." That is why we don't mirror their bitterness. We reflect serenity. We don't carry their animosity. We carry understanding. We were born into fire so that we might become flame. And now the light within us burns too brightly to be concealed any longer.